What's up, everybody? So Anson Henry, Olympic sprinter and now the host of Unconventional Voices of Track and Field, released a video the other day titled, "What the heck is a professional track and field athlete?" And we're gonna give a reaction to it.
I'm trying to figure out what other professional sport regresses when you go pro. I mean, what the hell is a professional track and field athlete anyways?
Yup, so this is the first thing that speaks out to me. Like, what is a professional track and field athlete? And really, no one really knows. Like, is it when you sign a contract? Is it when you make the Olympics? Is it when you just compete outside of college? Like, what is it? Nobody knows. So, looking forward to this. Really cool animation, by the way.
Could someone please explain to me why NCAA track and field is better than professional track and field?
Yes. NCAA track and field is significantly better than professional track and field. And 100% agree with this, with what Anson's saying. It's miles ahead, organizationally wise, entertainment wise, everything is just so much better. So completely agree.
Especially when you're talking about track and field, which is clearly the biggest sport at the Olympics. But I got a little tidbit of information, a little gem for y'all. Professional track and field happens outside of the Olympics.
What?
There's about 1,200 scholarships between men and women in Division I track and field. And when you're a scholarship athlete, you get your accommodations paid for, food paid for, free education, free equipment and apparel for your sport.
All right, so most of this is right for major athletes. Like, so if you're going to a Power 5, especially if you're one of the athletes that we know in NCAA track and field, all this is completely true. You know, you'll have your meals paid for, you got your equipment, you got all that stuff. You may even get a stipend. But for 99% of college athletes, that's not the case. Like, most college athletes are not receiving what Anson's talking about. So it's actually even worse than that. But I'm sure we'll get into that at some point.
Access to facilities, competition schedules taken care of, travel accommodations are taken care of. A lot of the competitions are televised and broadcasted, and all of this is secured for 4 years. Plus,
oh, okay. So that's not completely true. So one, yes, all of your schedules are going to be guaranteed. Like, your coaches, they figure all that stuff out. So you don't have to worry about the travel and everything, which is fantastic. Most of them are not televised. Major meets are, but 99.9% of college athletes will never be on TV when it comes to television. Like, it's just not aired. So that's not really true. And it's not actually guaranteed for 4 years. So for those that are not sure or weren't aware, college athletes and scholarships are only guaranteed for 1 year. It's the year that you're competing in. And the coach has the ability to add on more money or reduce that scholarship following your year. So if you compete your freshman year and you don't compete up to the standards that the coach wants you to, or if you get injured, or there's really any other reason, the coach has the ability to reduce your scholarship or increase it if you do better. So it's not actually guaranteed for 4 years. Most coaches will maintain your scholarship for that 4-year period, but it's not actually guaranteed. That can change, which can be frightening for some people because it could easily go from maybe being a full ride to a half ride or whatever it might be.
An additional 5th redshirt year if you get injured or something. I know a few of you have had some injuries. And those 4 years are guaranteed as long as you don't do nothing stupid like steal from a department store or, I don't know, keep your grades so low that even the institution can't keep you eligible. But you gotta be pretty stupid for that to happen. Notice.
Once again, it's not guaranteed. You're guaranteed for 1 year. Most of the people will maintain it for their 4 years, but it can be taken away.
Respect. And also, a lot of times, if you're successful in your sport in the NCAA, you get recognized in front of a stadium full of your classmates, alumni, fans, all recognizing you for the important historical value that you've added to their wonderful institution of education. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. When you leave, you also get your degree in whatever realm of education you decided to pursue. So I know a lot of you left without getting your degree, but have good intentions of going back to get it, right? Pretty cool setup, right? You're a figure on campus, and if you're good enough, you're probably known around the NCAA, all while having all of your expenses taken care of and having a fulfilling and rewarding experience alongside your teammates.
So I'm assuming that he's just talking about Power 5 fully scholarshiped athletes here, because this is not the case for, like I said, 99% of college track and field athletes. So for the remainder of the video, I'll just assume he's talking about, the Power 5 athletes, the people that we all know, and not the regular Joe, which none of this really applies to. So I'll assume that's who we're talking about.
Let's talk about professional track and field.
I'm just trying to figure this out.
Now, you're only depending on sponsors for your income. And it's mainly going to be your shoe contract. And to get a shoe contract these days, you got to be at least top 10 in the world, depending on your event. Shit, it might be top 5 in the world. Nobody really knows.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that annoys a lot of athletes as well as just commentators of what does it take to get these shoe contracts. No one really knows. It's a combination of, one, you have to be an elite athlete, and two, you have to be an elite personality. Like, you have to be able to be marketable and enough for people to want to spend money on having you represent their brand. We've seen a lot of athletes that this year were unsigned, yet they, even though they performed well, still go unsigned. It's a gray area. No one really knows how good or what you need to do in order to get these shoe contracts.
I'll tell you this though, those professional athletes that are getting money from these shoe companies, they better not let those performances slip, because them shoe companies will cut that money down like,
It's out of here, it's history.
No guarantees, no security, no plan, no distinction, no meets on TV. And if there are meets on TV, where the do you find them anyways? No
Yeah, so he's spot on with that one. So the pro system is just broken. There's no organization because it's too large. Like with the NCAA, we know exactly how many schools there are. We know exactly how many athletes have the ability to get scholarships. We know exactly where the meets are going to be because it happens the same time every year. But with the pros, there's none of that organization. It's a worldwide sport, so you have people competing in the United States, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, in Australia, all these things, and it just makes it so much more difficult because it's really wide. And you also only have these shoe brands that are sponsoring some people. And so it's overall just a worse product. And the consistency when it comes to the actual track meets are just non-existent. It's not there. Like you'll have one meet that's awesome and done very, very well, and then other ones that are just piss poor. And you can't find where they are. Like you need to have 5 or 6 different streaming services just to be able to watch track and field.
team support, no money, because now you got to take care of all of your main expenses, and there's no exit strategy, and there's really no memory of your existence. It doesn't even matter how good you were. And most track and field athletes leave the sport broke.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
You compete on the circuit against the best athletes in the world for a minimal amount of prize money. And yeah, shoe companies will pay you some money for you to be seen in their apparel. And yeah, okay, you can pick up some other sponsors, but most of the time that has nothing to do with your athletic capabilities. That has to do with your marketability. So if you don't got those...
Yes. So your marketability in track and field is almost a bigger asset than how fast you actually are, how high you can actually jump, or how far you can actually throw. It's a huge, huge asset because these brands want to partner with people that get their name out, that interact with people a lot. And so not only do you have to be very, very good, but you also have to have the ability or willingness to want to go and connect with the fans, the people that these brands are trying to sell their product to. And if you don't do that, or you just have no interest in it, it's like, you're not gonna get these brands. And so, like you was saying earlier, many of these athletes are not getting paid a lot of money. Like you could make more money working some regular office job than many of these pro athletes. I'm sure there are people watching this video that make more money than most of the professional athletes on the circuit right now because there's just not the branding or the monetization within track and field currently.
Those good looks to go along with your athletic abilities, you better make sure you keep on running fast and jumping high and long and throwing far. And I get it, there's some exceptions that can make some real money, but do you want 3 people in each event? When you really think about it, track and field is nothing but a big-ass shoe company catalog, a glorified fashion show, and the athletes are the models, just trying to stay relevant.
So who stays in this competition?
But on June 30th, 2021, the NCAA ruled that now NCAA athletes are going to be allowed to make money off of their name, image, and likeness, as opposed to the 115-year-old rule.
This was a huge thing for the NCAA, and we've seen, because of it, more athletes have been staying in college versus going pro. A perfect example of this is Trevor Bassett, Division II multinational champion, world medalist, I think world gold medalist, yeah, part of that 4x4. And so he stayed in college one more year because of the NIL opportunities that he had. One, you get more marketability being in college than you do in the pros. And two, you have the consistency with the schedule and everything like that. And three, you have the ability to make some money through NIL. I'm sure he is not the only athlete that has decided to stay in college versus going pro because of these NIL opportunities that they have.
That did not permit them to do this during their eligibility. So now that NCAA athletes have all the perks that I discussed earlier, along with being able to make some money on the side, where the would track athletes want to go pro?
Wait for it. Here it comes.
Oh, I'm tripping. There's the Olympics. My bad. And I know it only happens every 4 years, but with the colossus amount of money that the Olympics makes, and with track and field being the most notable sport at this big ass event, those athletes are getting a cut of that, right?
So you would think that all the athletes that compete at the Olympics would be making money. You would think that. Like, from the outside looking in, it makes sense. Like, you're the athletes, you're representing the Olympics, representing your country. You should be making money competing on the world's biggest stage, right? Wrong. Everyone does it for free. Sure, there are some exceptions to the rule. You know, some nations will pay athletes, you know, for competing or for placing in certain heights, but the Olympics itself operates as if you're an amateur, and so you don't really get paid from that. Now, you can get paid because of being at the Olympics. Like, if you become an Olympic champion, the contracts that you sign after that will be much larger than if you don't make the Olympics at all. So sure, that's the case, but you don't actually get paid from the Olympics, even though you competed in their event and you also weren't able to wear your branding there and you followed all of their rules from their sponsors. You don't get any of that. So that's fun.
Zero, zilch, nothing, nada. They're getting nothing from that. There's nothing clearly set up for these athletes as professionals. You know what? They better do it before the NCAA sets up some sort of NCAA graduate school program where athletes can do extended education and still be able to compete. Watch. And they're going to make it. And these track and field athletes are all of a sudden going to decide to become lawyers and doctors and shit like that, just so they can stay in school longer. And you know what? I'd watch it.
So this kind of exists like already. I'm not sure if it's exactly what he means by that, but you are able to compete as a graduate school athlete. Like, so if you redshirt or if you were impacted by COVID, so if you're a student athlete during COVID, they gave you extra years of eligibility. So there are some student athletes that got 7 years of eligibility because of redshirting or because of COVID, and then now being able to compete an extended period of time. So there were some people that were 25, 26, still competing in the NCAA because of this. Obviously it's abnormal, it doesn't happen all the time, but it's a possibility. Do I think college is going to create this new system to allow student athletes to compete even longer in the NCAA? Now that's an interesting question. Like, hey, you have your typical 4 years of eligibility. Like, we're gonna have a postgraduate opportunity where you can still represent your school in, you know, a certain aspect of things, and you're now competing against 22 to 26-year-olds or whatever. Now we're talking. That would be interesting. I don't think it's gonna happen, but if anything does, that's what they would do. I think it would harsh the relationships that the NCAA has with the NFL, for example, or the NBA. Like, they would not get along very well, I feel, with that if you offer these things, because now some students would decide to stay there instead of turning pro. But it's something that would be interesting to see. Yeah, so overall, like, a lot of great points that Anson makes here. And to be honest, like, no one really knows. No one really knows what it means to be a professional track athlete because it's just so vague. It's not like, hey, you know you're an NBA player when you make the NBA. You know you're a professional football player when you play in the professional league. There is none of that. It's not like, hey, you're a pro track athlete once you make your country's national team. Like, you're a pro track athlete when you sign your shoe contract. You're a pro track athlete when you compete in this meet. Like, there is no direct black and white. It's just a lot of areas of gray on, you know, what is it when you're considered a pro? Are you a pro when you run for money, when you make money running? Like, what is it? No one really knows. And so it's just like, there's a lot of murkiness. And because of that, like, a lot of our top athletes just aren't making the amount of money that they probably could or should be making. And so, yeah, overall, excellent video by Anson, really liked it. Few points that he had a little bit wrong there when it came to the NCAA, but go and check him out, Unconventional Voices of Track and Field, Unconventional Entertainment on YouTube. Appreciate you guys watching. If you want to see more reactions, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment, let me know that you want to see more of that, and we'll make sure to do it. Otherwise, I'm Colin. Have a good one. Peace.